นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมพุทธายะนะโมธัมมายะนะโมสังฆายะ Hello to all of you across the world. I think my rope's gonna fall. Let me give me 1 second here. Fix this. Okay. Today is a very serious talk. So, I hope you all buckle your seatbelt for today's talk. And today's talk is going to be in English, even though you all previously witnessed today's chanting that was, I think, like 4 hours long, but broken into different parts of the day. And at the time of this talk, I am in Arizona, so it's very hot, 110 degrees here, with intermittent resting in between the chantings of the Mahayana Suttas. Everyone know that I am a Theravadan monk, and I've been invited here, and I will be watching this monastery in the beginning of September to the middle of September, all to myself, all by myself. So I'm planning to put a small retreat together for those in the nearby area or surrounding states that want to come here and attend. Something happened in between the chanting, and I just wanted to capture this moment so that I don't forget. You know, a lot goes through my mind in regards to teachings and stuff like that. You about what happened. I was also going to explain what the chanting meant today because all of it was in Vietnamese. And so I realized no one understood what was going on. Even I only understood part of it because it's Mahayana Suttas. It's very deep. You know, like one sentence uttered, you can spend a very long time trying to figure out, whoa, that was very serious. And it's very, very beautiful. This is an observance. Tomorrow is Olumbana, the festival of the hungry ghost, also known as Le Vulang, VU space LAN for Buddhists out there. And for Vietnamese people, it is also known as the honoring of the Parents' Day. So all of us are resting right now. All of the monks are resting right now, and I'm the only one that I was actually in here towards that way. This is where Wi-Fi actually works, and I was reviewing material when this idea of me, my consciousness says, you need to make this talk before you forget. And quite frankly, in my mind, always I have about 5 subjects daily that I want to talk about, and subsequently I do forget. It's no different than any other human out there who, we have 70,000 separate each thought a day. How many of them do you notice, and how many of them do you actually write down? That's why most of us have these little booklets. I have my little booklet, but even I forget to write it down. So it's important that I, pause and reflect. As I was preparing to talk on Ulumbana, Ulumbana, one of the questions I will be asking tomorrow when they give me the microphone, the abbot here is going to introduce me to local nearby people. And one of the question is, well, what was your great memory of your parents when you guys were together? If it indicates a was or still is. And the second question I'm going to ask the crowd tomorrow is that, what were the sacrifices that your parents made for you? Of course, this applies more to Gen Millennials, and all the generations there before, versus Gen Zoomers or Gen Alphas. Sacrifice. Today's a serious talk, and it is titled a serious talk on my YouTube until I go back to it and edit it. And I just want you all to know the sacrifices that I've made. I am still making for all of you right now. Um, so I'm gonna try to pull all three of those together in today's talk, if I think I'm organized enough to do so. Um, so everyone knows that I had to return back to work as a monk. Like working in society. Our rule states, especially in the Theravadan order, that should not should not work. Something you should not. That's something you should give up. And this rule is very strict in Thailand and Laos. Cannot work. Period. That's why the lay people love monks, because they realize that. Um, give me 1 second here. Okay. I know we have some people on TikTok there that like to throw some comments. Anyways, Laos and Thailand, they're not allowed to work. So therefore, the lay people go there and to support the monastery full fledged. Um, However, there are amendments, and according to my teacher way back in the day, he says if the monastery cannot survive, then monks have to return back to work to keep the lights on. Funny part is, earlier the abbot saw me laying here, and he was like, "Let me turn the AC down for you." It's like 83 AC, comparable to 110 out there. And I says, "No, no, 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 no. It's okay. It's okay. Just leave it the way it is. I'm used to it. I'm okay." That was before the talk. So I told him we're gonna save money in this monastery. Conserve, conserve, conserve. There are amendments to the rules so that monks here in America can return to work if there are hardships. So I went back to work as an interpreter to keep my programs going. Today's talk is dedicated to all of you and some of the newer um, Buddhist, Vietnamese Buddhist professionals that recently discovered who I am. Days ago, I had a young gal examine my life, my monastic life, at least my monastic life. There you go. And she asked a lot of questions. She was just trying to paint this picture of, Chida, what is it that you do again? So you have a program that caters to teen suicide, and you counsel married couples and family therapist. This is the monastic clergy services that you provide to the member of the public. But you don't have a nonprofit organization yet. I said, that's correct. And so I had to explain to her, well, it takes about 5 people in Florida to establish a 501c3 and so on and so on. And I told her I don't depend on donors to keep my program going. I depend on me, just like the Buddha taught. The Buddha's behind me. It's what he taught. He taught to depend on yourself. Don't depend on other people. Rely on your own 2 wings, right? And so I have been going to work, and so I make about $25,000 a year as an interpreter. That is indicated on my IRS form. So at the time of this talk, if you are an IRS agent and if you put my name, date of birth, social security number, you can verify that. And donations, they come in very, very rare, very slim. So I don't expect donations. I don't. That's what brings happiness to me, because there's a lot of people perhaps could be expecting that, or get sad when it doesn't come in. And I rely on my own 2 wings to keep programs going. It's now the 10th year of this going. The sacrifices I've made and is still continuing to make I have, endured silently. And tonight, I guess tonight is just a breaking point of that endurance, uh, juggling different capacities as me, the venerable that I am. Wanted to just capture this moment in time in history to talk about it. So there is this case, and before I continue, do not send money. Today's talk is not about fundraising. Today's talk is not about me indirectly asking for any donations or money. Today, I just want you all to listen. Okay? So you are being instructed. And I am going to speak as if the Buddha is right next to me. Okay? Matter of fact, he's behind me, but I'm going to pretend he is actually present here in this room. Matter of fact, in front of me, pretend he is actually present here in this room. Matter of fact, in front of me and or the jury on the left side of the wall. Matter of fact, to bring back mindfulness, today's suttas has a lot to do with the hell realm. And tomorrow is Alumbana, which is an observance for the hungry ghost realm. So this is why it's a serious talk. Speaking wrong, speaking incorrect speech in accordance to the right speech under the Noble Eightfold Path, especially in the presence of a Buddha behind a monk, is a very serious offense, constitutes hell realm rebirth. Very, very serious. So again, I make my disclosure very fast and quick for those who are informed. Do not send money. Do not. So I had this case about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, that came across the office. It so happens to be my specialty. It's called the medical waiver for application for citizenship. So everyone knows that my father, he does some immigration law. And so my specialty in the office is criminal law, traffic law, and some family law, like divorces, simplified divorces. But I also do the medical waivers which is also known as medical exemption for application for citizenship for the United States USCIS. So I had this case two months ago, and I went to assess. The daughter said my parents are old and they want to apply for the citizenship. And I'm wondering if they're eligible for the medical waiver. I said, sure. So I drive all the way to Newport Richey, assess both of them. And I found out that the hold on, I need to screen my head for HIPAA law for a second. Can you guys hold your comments over there on TikTok for a second, just out of respect? Okay, so I'm just gonna move my words around a little bit for the sake of HIPAA law. So the wife's got issues. The husband has never, the father, the elderly father, has never been to a doctor. He's actually afraid to go to the doctor because he's afraid that he may receive diagnosis, unexpected diagnosis. The funny part of this, there's people in my family that have that fear also. I think we all have that fear, right? That we don't want to go get lab work done, for example, and find out that, our cholesterol is this, or high blood pressure exists, or pre-diabetic, or something like that. So I told them that, number one, their case, I explained the fees. Okay, so you all know I have 19 years of clinical experience in law and medicine. And so I've worked a lot with lawyers. I am also very well versed in the Florida bar and its rules and regulations for lawyers. So I follow the same. Because I'm an interpreter, we are classified as judicial officers. So there's 3 in Florida that's classified as judicial officers. You have the judge, you have the attorneys, and you have the interpreters who are held to a very, very high standard. So I explained, so this is my ethical explanation, ethical and moral explanation of the fees, because it is one of the highest fees that I have ever quoted in the office historically. Now, according to my assessment and evaluation, which is in accordance to previous clinical experience, knowledge, and the time that I've been doing it, the amount of time that's going to be needed to put the medical evidence together to file for the medical exemption could take up to a year, even a year and a half, even 2 years. So I quoted the family $5,000 for both people, which is $2,500 for both people. And they said, sure, okay, here's $2,500 first. When we come back to Vietnam, they just came back from Vietnam. We'll give you the other 2,500. So I texted her last night and I said, okay, well, it's that that 2,500 is due in order for me to spearhead this case and make it come to fruition. And so she called me in the middle of chanting. So, as a matter of fact, she called while we were chanting. So I said, I'll call you back. We took the break. I call her back. She goes, yeah, how about you bring this to fruition and then we will complete the payment for the remaining balance. And I said, no, that's not office policy. And I'm not the director. I'm the assistant director. That's not the policy. All right. So we went back and forth. And then she plays the I don't remember game, right? Remind you all that here is the standard and procedure protocol. Not only I was there explaining to 3 humans who have been adjudicated as smart, intelligent, ability to understand the Vietnamese language, clearly to make informed choice and decision. Furthermore, as I explained to them all of the details in payments, they also sign over power of attorney to me so that I can get medical records, right? So all this has already transpired. Now she plays the, I don't remember you saying that we had to pay the remaining balance. I don't remember. Really? You don't? Got it. It's not the first time people have played this game. It's a rare thing, by the way. It's a rare thing, just because sometimes that's why I have to see people meet face to face to assess them, to see that, whether I should or should not conduct business with wise people or fools. The Buddha taught us to associate with the wise and not with fools. Unfortunately, in this world, we have people who like to play this game. Today's talk also sets the tone for students that will come into this program and to realize that don't play games with Ajahn, because Ajahn will figure out very quickly the games that people play. This is the importance of studying psychology and criminal psychology, because you just have to know how people play games. They will gaslight you. They will play games in life in general. Hopefully everyone get a lot out of today's talk. A lot. Very, very important. Very valuable for all of you, because you're all going to learn from the lessons that I have had over the past 19 years of dealing with the public. And at the time of this talk, still holding the position of an assistant director at the Professional Social Service Office in Pinellas Park, Florida. So she gets really upset on the phone, and she's like, I can't believe this, I can't believe that. You all can only imagine the fit that she throws. She does nails. And so, I said, well, you have 2 choices. One, you can speak to the director, my father, who's been in business for 30 years. Or if you feel that this is wrong, unjust, unduly, unjustified, and if you believe that there is wrongdoing here on business violations, breach of contract, you can file a lawsuit right? I left it as that. So that's the end of that story. Why today's talk to all of you? I just wanted to let you all know that I go through all this headache over a course of the past 10 years as a monk to use the resources and hard working money, hard work, hard earning working money to cater to the public. All for what? One must ask. He does all of this for all of you. What does he get out of it? What is it in it for him? What is it in it for Ajahn? Ajahn is the first, perhaps the first and only monk in the entire world that gives permission for warrantless search into his bank account at any point in time if you are a federal agent to ensure that he's telling the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help him. Now, I really hope for out there is that people go through the program, mitigate your anger, greed, and ignorance in the world, and contribute back to our society in some way, shape, or form. I have never said you should come back to the monastery. I never said you should donate to the monastery. No. I said, and I'm telling you all to be good humans. The sacrifices we make and the Dhamma talks that we conduct is for the benefit of all human beings. All human beings. The abbot today that I was chanting with is 80 years old. He chants faster than I do. He chants stronger than I do. And I just could not help but to reflect the sacrifice that he has made previously and still is making for the benefit of all that is here in this monastery and elsewhere around the world. Amazing man. We younger monks, hope to follow his footsteps, living the holy life, truly, the holy life, to chant 4 hours in a day. Unlike any other. The clinical benefits of chanting this much is the overriding and the reprogramming for those who walk into this monastery and or any other monastery around the world, in reprogramming them to be less angry, less greedy, less ignorant of the Four Noble Truths. Let it sink in, folks. Let it sink in. However, it becomes a burden. Be a good burden. In Thai tradition, in Theravadan, the student asked the teacher, may I be a good burden to you? Be a good burden. And that's all we can ask for, is that you become a good burden when you do what needs to be done, you study what needs to be studied, and you practice what needs to be practiced. That's it. That's all we ask of you. This is the only thing we can ask of you. But however, there are students out there that fall short of such standard. So today serves as that reminder. I am just a representative of the monastic order. And even though I'm not yet an abbot, and perhaps an abbot in training, next time you look at an abbot, make sure that you fully internalize and understand the magnitude of sacrifice that they've made for you and for all since they ordained. The many worries and headaches that we have to go through in order to keep things afloat, the programs afloat, so that we keep the wheel, the Dhammacakkappavattana, our own Dhammacakkappavattana, our own wheel turning for all of you, our own wheel to defeat anger, ignorance, and greed in the world. We are the Jedis that fight the good fight, so that police officers, there's a shortage of police officers, when people don't keep the precept. We're already seeing Santa Monica, we're already seeing California, Chicago, New York, Texas, out of control with crime rates. Because why? People don't keep the 10 commandments if they're Christian. They don't keep the 10 precepts if you're a Buddhist. and is buy into the applications of monasteries like this that tries to keep the numbers of criminals at bay and not proliferate. Great. Orange account just stopped again. So therefore, I really would like to step down as assistant director next year. I find so much peace in places like this, and so should you. I find a lot of peace in traveling and spreading the Dhamma. I don't want to be an interpreter anymore. People play. I just don't have time for that foolishness anymore. I don't. I don't. I don't have time for foolishness. Typically, when you come across anyone that has the title of Ajahn, they usually don't play around anymore. Um, well, actually, if you get a kick out of my TikTok previously with the child that was previously born, Stormy, the infant named Stormy, that took the internet by storm. Of course, I'm going to be playful because it's TikTok. I'm trying to um, inspire Gen Zoomers and Gen Alphas that this path is chill. So that only applies to them. If you are of age to understand where I'm coming from, just be the good student out there, to not just to me, but to other monks who are leading the pack, who are doing the best that they can. I just wanted to capture this moment to let you all understand the the burden that I carry to make ends meet. And by the way, let me just say a couple of things. In that, because when people hear $5,000, it's like that's a lot of money. Not really. Once again, the case can go all the way up to 2 years, because even if we have medical evidence of a year, when you send in your paperwork, it takes months and months and months according to USCIS's agenda and calendar. So it doesn't happen right away. So technically, out of that 5,000, perhaps after gasoline and time allotted, the interpreter's time is about anywhere from $75 an hour, which is minimum, a maximum of $250 an hour maximum. So you just plug those numbers in division of the $5,000, in addition to gasoline and insurance and everything else. Perhaps this monk walks away with $1,200, if even, throughout the course of the entire case. I have a minor in business, so you all know how to do the math. Just look at your own budgeting. So Newport Richie from my city is about an hour and a half. Well, I know it's less. Yeah, it could take, because US 19 now, Florida now is very congested with traffic. So I just my dad's getting older, and he's probably going to give me the office, and I just not leaning towards that. I'm really not leaning towards that, or else I would have told you all way long ago. I always keep very transparent and very honest with all of you throughout my entire monastic career, and I'm just not leaning towards it. Just not leaning, because it's the games that people play, the arguments that they want to make. And my dad too. My dad, he explained immigration law, and then they argue with him, and then he goes, "I'm sorry, are you making the laws now? You're making the laws now, right? Ông làm luật cho nó đúng không? Ông làm luật cho nó đúng không?" Miss Fo is joining us. Oh, I wish she joined in the beginning of this talk. I think Miss Fo would get a kick out of this talk if she goes back to the beginning after today's conclusion of this talk. So, so So, oh, what can you do? You just have to really smile. At the end of the day, our joy comes from serving the people. The smiles and lives are being changed. So my monastic agenda is traveling to California after tomorrow. I think we're gonna rest for a day before we take on probably Tuesday. Oh, the other thing I wanted to capture was when I was laying over there looking at my calendar and I saw these all the empty boxes. That means my calendar on my MacBook, all the empty boxes, meaning I don't have any competing priorities. Oh, so happy. That is now the new definition of happiness, right? Until Thursday and Friday next week, I have depositions with attorneys, and again, part of being an interpreter, and I'm like, huh. So I really like to retire as an interpreter by next year. That's just a great, awesome. It'll be another wish fulfilled. Just because if I have more cases, as I aforementioned, the medical waiver case that I just previously explained, and some of today's talk is for a couple of viewers like you all who are just now discovering me and the nature and type of my work and the juggle and balance between he's a monk, he's a social worker, he's a therapist, he's an interpreter. He's juggling all of this right now in order to fit everybody into his schedule for counseling and guiding. He has the novice monk program. He's just trying to juggle it, and he's doing just fine juggling everything until we get hiccups like this from people who wants to be irresponsible and stuff like that. And by the way, when I'm out there doing my job as an interpreter, I don't tell people I'm a monk. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to my job as a judicial officer. It is irrelevant. It is irrelevant to my job as a medical interpreter. It is irrelevant to my job as a legal interpreter. It's not my thing. So, but that also gives me insight into their true nature when they play this type of game. Truly, it's really fun when you study experimental psychology and social psychology and conduct social experiments like I do. Just because you just see the true nature. It's no wonder why I have so much insight into humans, the ability to read humans quickly. You all also should do the same. All of you should strive for this type particular knowledge of reading humans. In your life, you will meet many people in your life, and you need to assess them quickly and make a impression. Are we going to proceed on forward, or are we not going to proceed on forward? Matter of fact, sometimes I roll the dice on some of the cases that I take in order to have the funding necessary so that I can serve the rest of everyone that is involved. What brings joy to me is that I may be going overseas on, around, or about November, October, November, December is going to be the overseas saga or episodes. I don't know what you want to call it, but I mean, this year I've traveled so much this year comparable to my 37 years on this planet. And what a lion's roar, I would describe it. Remember the Buddha's own lion roar? When he, became fully enlightened, he declared lion's roar. But this is not that type of a lion's roar. It's a lion's roar to me in my definition of lion's roar because I'm the year of the dragon, and this year's the year of the dragon. And typically Vietnamese culture, they're like, well, if it's your year, you should, lay low and just hang out and just not do anything that is big and of big endeavors. But I wasn't going to waste a year of that. I've already announced in the beginning of the year that it's going to be one heck of a year, a victorious year. And that it has proved so far. It has been a victorious year. I ordained more people this year than any other year, and perhaps the only monk, only millennial monk in the United States to ordain Gen Zoomers and Gen Alphas the way that we have. So hopefully we continue the good work that we're doing so that we have more cultivating a army of Dhamma monks to dispense the Dhamma to their peers. And that way our world can shift a little bit in happiness, shift a little bit in more peaceful than the total opposite of what we're seeing on CNN. it will be, there are a couple of trips overseas, and oh, she's just now joining. Oh my goodness. Oh, some of my key listeners that needed to hear today's message is just now joining in. They're a little late. So I'll just have to direct and redirect them back to the beginning of today now. So for some of you, I consider devotees, recent and new devotees. You all may have to go back 35 minutes ago of today's very, very important, very serious talk. Most important talk probably of the year, along today. Just because I know some of you all have kids and agendas, but um, maybe I could just do a conclusion. Let me reflect in my head if I have missed anything. Ah, before I make my conclusive statement, um, is that my desire to retire as an interpreter comes from a devotee who just joined us, and she says, you're really exhausted, and I see how exhausted you are trying to juggle all of this. I try to hide it. I don't think I can hide it from the rest of you guys when I go live, especially some of you on TikTok are very keen on reading my face. I think some of you all even know me more than I know me, and you all have seen the many facial expressions and the longitudinal timeline and chronological timeline of how I teach, when I teach, and just my facial expressions when I teach. And some of you even pointed out that you look really tired right now. Rest assured, the time of this talk, I'm not tired. Okay, I got my intermittent rest, so I'm very energetic right now. But also, I'm getting older, so there's a lot of things change in the body and face. So rest assured. um, but she pointed that out, and again, after she pointed that out, the transpiring of today's medical case, I think that she's right, and that's why I welcome such comments and suggestions and opinions of the lay people and of the general public, so that I can review them, to see if it is true, necessary, and correct, so that I can make adjustments in my life. Now, this also comes with the great task of jumping into family therapy, family dynamics, which is something that I'm quite good at. And I'm preparing for a very big triangle, we call triangulation, in family systems and unit. That means we're trying to look at, who's here, who's over there, and who's this person here. Interplay, the family dynamics. Okay. So I need to clear a lot of my agendas to prepare for some of the most illuminating, mindful spearing, kind of like spear fishing, that spear, um, into achieving quick insight onto the people that I'll be working with overseas. I'm going to withhold the country at this time because this case is still sensitive and ongoing, and I have received background information from certain individuals that I cannot disclose at this time. So, a lot of things will be obscured and censored for the privacy of the family. But I just wanted to, just let you all know that I need to clear some of the agendas, because I only have perhaps 1 or 2 months with the family overseas, and I will need to, just have a very keen, particular eyes and ears to pick up cues and clues from humans who are very good at eluding someone like me in order to gather information to make my interpretation and recommendation. So therefore, so that's why I'm slowly clearing my calendar as an interpreter, so that I can prioritize and fix families. I thought back in the day it was going to be easy. No, it's not easy. Um, the human mind, so we know how deep the ocean actually really is, but we don't know how deep the mind can actually really get. And some of the humans that I have engaged in directly, they're they're slick. I tell you that, and I appreciate the challenge. However, the monk has to know how to channel his energy uh, when these challenges arises. Take careful mental notes, come back to it, come up with follow-up questions, know how to ask the same question but in a different way, and capture key actions, body, speech, and mind to get a conclusive understanding of this particular family member and how and why they behave the way that they do and how they affect other people in their family systems and unit. Okay, I think I'm ready for my conclusion. Conclusion. And I'll expand more on today's chanting for the American crowd. That's on my list to do. To expand the explanation of today's 4 hour chant, tomorrow is Ulumbana. During today's intermittent breaks between chanting, I took a medical case in Newport Richey. That medical case was about $5,000. They paid half. The family came back from Vietnam. When the other 2,500 was supposed to be due, they played all sorts of game, and it just takes a lot of energy, time, and effort away from my life as a monk in order to prioritize the rest of the world. And therefore, it leads me to have the desire to retire as an interpreter at the end of the year. Just, I don't think I can do all of this crazy stuff anymore with these people who are very irresponsible in conducting business back at my dad's office, where I am assistant director, embracing on the new traveling agenda um, between the month of October, November, and December, concluding the year. So that's pretty much about it. Oh, and then I emphasized in the middle of the talk about how this translate this spells out the sacrifice of a monk. This particular monk, in juggling the many services that I provide in order to make a living, to provide with all of the programs that I'm doing. Today was a very important moment to share with all of you because I'm trying to survive 110 degrees heat outside of these doors, uh, 4 hours of chanting, trying to assimilate to what's going on here, and of course in the middle of the challenges of these clinical cases that arises. So it's a lot while trying to observe my novices who are reporting to me via digital media, which is FaceTime. Um, I think that's about it. Sacrifice, yeah, because this is going to be asked of the children and the parents tomorrow when they show up to this monastery. What were the sacrifices that your parents have made for you? So I decided to take that out of the context that it was and apply it here as a sample of the past 10 years of being a monk and holding the many different types of capacity and jobs in order to serve the people and have the resources to serve the people and the novices at hand. Today's talk is not about fundraising. Today's talk suggests that you should not send any more money in because it may sound like it. Do not send money. Okay. Um, there are things that I have to resolve on my own as assistant director, and some things that are just not directly related to Buddhism at hand, something that's on the side there, but because My income comes from that side in order to apply this towards Buddhism and everything that's going on. This sets the stage for future monks who will be studying my biography, and they will see the many challenges that I had to face, continuously having to face in order to swim up the stream, in order to bring the Dhamma to the people, the administration of the Dhamma to the people, the medicine Buddha to the people. And when the younger generation become monks and abbots and vice abbots, there's no easy way. This is going to be the sacrifice that you will make for the general public, dedicating your body, speech, and mind for the benefit of other people. And when it comes to the body, speech, and mind, body means action. Body means you have to use the best available intelligence, all of your intelligence, wisdom, and talents, and apply it to what needs to be done. Even though sometimes in life it is not fair, and sometimes you, as the monk, the young monk that you are, and this is my message for all of the young monks that is under training and will be abbots, is that it is not fair. And what is it in it for me? What is it in it for you? Karma. Our karmic currencies will follow. One should never look at material gain or say that, well, I had to work like a Jan Jidao, and as a direct result of working, I had to deal with these people, hard, difficult people, and in return, I receive a salary or paycheck from working in society, and then use that to provide for the people at hand, the flock that you are shepherding. It's worth it. It's well worth it. It will be worth it towards the end when you get to 80 years old, like the abbot that is here. So I share mutual understanding with all of you future monks down the road. But now I suffer. I carry my cross. I suffer now. And I believe that when I reached 80 years old, that all of this suffering, necessary suffering, joy in suffering, will pay off towards the end. And that the many children out there in the world, my children, will come, not biological children. Don't get fooled with the latest TikTok video of me holding that baby from Buddy and his wife giving birth to that. I don't have any biological children. That all of my spiritual children will surround the warm bed. I came, I conquered, and subsequently I will leave. So that is the moral and ethic of today's talk. I wanted to conclude tonight's talk. I'll return back to resting tomorrow. We will prompt service at 10:30 with hundreds of people here. And I need to prepare for that talk by reviewing additional Dhamma materials. It is a rare thing that I prepare for a Dhamma talk, but because this is a Mahayanan temple and I'm a Theravadan monk, I need to meet all of the lay people where they are at, and not, so gotta move some things around the two schools. And lastly, I wanted to add that I am very indebted to the Mahayanan order, and there are times during Dhamma talks where I forget, because I'm human too. I forget that I started my training first and foremost at age 13 in the Mahayanan, with a Mahayanan monk. No different than Bhikkhu Bodhi. His Holiness started off ordained under the Mahayanan order and then switched over to Theravadan. The Mahayanan order have a very unique and particular patience in dealing with individuals who are suffering so much in life, like me, perhaps when I was younger. So therefore, I owe it to the Mahayanan order for their unwavering patience in guiding me and taking me underneath their wings. And so that's something that is unmatched, unparalleled patience. And with happiness and great joy, they do it with. Whereas sometimes we Theravadins could be a little too strict and too stern. We've seen that often in the Theravadan order, strict, stern, straight as a stick, not really bending left and right. And so that's why I'm here to continue my training, to bring back that type of patience, loving kindness, and compassion and understanding for humans, even though it is very tough being a Jan. Again, minds of the people's minds are constantly advancing, and it's not advancing towards anything that of spirituality maturity, the maturity in spirituality. It advances towards criminality, it advances towards greed, anger, and delusion, and it makes it very difficult for us to try to remain smiling and trying to tame that mind at hand. So, on behalf of the entirety of the monastic order, on behalf of the entire Sangha, please also have compassion for your monks at your local monasteries. If they look a little grumpy, if they're a little grumpy, that's because they're trying the best that they can with all of the challenges that I have described today. With the challenges myself, personally, you all now get an insight as to what I have to do to keep my programs going silently, suffer in silence until today's talk. Over the past 10 years, suffering in silence and not bragging about this. So just imagine, right? And people would label me as, oh, well, he just complains a lot. No, on my 10th year, I will. Just because you just need to know. That way, you have additional reverence, additional veneration, additional respect for monks so that we can continue our work. Okay, I'd like to conclude my talk for today. Thank you all for joining and being wonderful listeners. I hope you all get the most out of today's talk. Please reflect, and if you're just now joining us, I suggest that you go back to the past 40, 51 minutes of talking, as it will be very good for your consciousness. May you all be well, be happy, be free, and always be healthy. May you realize of your own true nature. May all of you be healed and be a significant source of healing for other people. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Novice D, I'll be calling you here shortly after everything is so. Please prepare to answer FaceTime. Novice D, who's also watching on Instagram. Very serious talk. Um,